Good morning, and thanks for waking up with us for Mornings on the Hill. I'm Max Darrow.
And I'm Cheyenne Devon. It's time to get your orange juices flowing with a look at today's headlines.
Syracuse Mayor Stephanie Miner is live in studio with us this morning. We'll ask her about her pick in the presidential campaign and get her take on some campus issues.
Speaking of the candidates, Democrat Bernie Sanders made his first campaign stop in Syracuse. We'll take you inside the On-Center to hear what he had to say.
And two SU students are out there. See how their videos help launch startups. They're here to tell us all about it.
Our top story, several presidential candidates have made campaign stops here in central New York, or plan to before next Tuesday's primary.
Syracuse Mayor Stephanie Miner has made her choice known, and this morning she joins our Jacob Reynolds live in studio to talk about that and campus-related issues.
Thank you, Max and Cheyenne, and thank you, Mayor Miner, for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure to finally be in the Dick Clark studios.
Well, we're happy to have you. We'll get started right here. You endorsed former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and former New York Senator a while ago. You supported her campaign in 2008, and this year when you endorsed her, you mentioned a lot of her work she had done with children and mentioned how Syracuse is a city with a lot of children that need help. Is that still one of the major reasons you're supporting her?
Well, I think it goes to the major reason that what I know of Hillary Clinton is that she is somebody who rolls up her sleeves and solves problems. And whether those problems are related to children in poverty or children getting access to quality education, or whether they're related to getting goods to the marketplace from the Adirondacks or Syracuse, she is somebody who is incredibly bright, but more important, is somebody who works to solve problems. And what brings her to the political arena is to solve problems, not to be a prima donna or get her name in the headlines. And that's what I think this country needs. We have real challenges. Too many of our people feel like they're being left behind. Too many people are being left behind. We need somebody who is prepared, ready to go to work and solve those problems.
Now, she was just here last Friday. You spent most, if not all day with her. Did you all discuss campus issues like sexual assault legislation? Student loan debt is obviously a big thing.
Well, we talked a lot about student loan debt when we went to the varsity because there were a number of students who came over to her, and I was with her taking lots of pictures talking about issues that they cared about. Particularly, there were a number of young women who came to her and talked about how thankful they were that she had really been on the forefront of women's issues and talking about women's rights or human rights. And what that means when you are somebody who is 18, 19, and 20 and thinking about where's my place in the world, and when you see the kind of, not having equal pay, not having equal access, not having equal opportunity, when we're at a point in our society where I think most of us think we should. And we should have those kind of opportunities. And so now it's a time to have somebody who can get into the structure and change the structure to make sure that there's an equal opportunity for all of us.
It's no secret that her opposition candidate, Bernie Sanders, has tapped into a very loyal and passionate fan base almost of young voters, losing Wisconsin, the young vote, by almost 60 points, Florida 30 points. Why do you think she's just not connecting very well with young people?
You know, I think Senator Sanders is a great senator. I think he's a great public servant. And I think what he has really tapped into is that anger and that frustration that particularly young people feel in terms of, hey, wait a second, is there going to be opportunity for us? We have worked hard, we've studied hard, we've gotten incredible student loans, doing what we were told we were going to do, and now all of a sudden the opportunity doesn't seem to be there for us, and we see our parents falling further behind. I think that Senator Clinton sees the same things. What is different about the two of them is that Senator Clinton has a track record of actually solving those problems and moving our public policy debates forward so that people can be the beneficiaries of good public policy. Where Senator Sanders, he's had a role of really talking about these issues, bringing them to the fore. The next level, I think, of political leadership is it's one thing to talk about it, one thing to get people excited about it, but you ultimately have to solve these problems.
Speaking of something people are talking about and excited about, the Carrier Dome renovations have been a big topic of discussion because everyone up here loves their Syracuse orange. There's been talks to redo the roof, maybe move this stadium, destroy the Carrier Dome and start something new. What, as mayor, do you think is best for Syracuse for the Carrier Dome to do?
Well, you know, I think that what I think as mayor is that it's best that you have an enlightened and thoughtful chancellor who recognizes that the city of Syracuse is part of the discussion, but overall it should be decisions that are driven by the chancellor and how they want to maximize student athletics and make sure that they can integrate that with part of the community. But look, the discussions that I've had with the chancellor about that and about other areas, he's a very thoughtful guy. He really wants to bring everybody's opinions into it and ultimately make a decision that's in the best interest of everyone. But that's primarily and appropriately a decision of the Syracuse University leadership.
And speaking of your talks with the Chancellor Syverud, a new deal has been reached. You talk about it in your budget that SU will pay the city $7 million over 4 years. Can you walk us through what that money will go to, why that much over 5 years, how you all reached that agreement?
Well, you reach that agreement like you do through any negotiation, you know. We want more, they want less, and you get to some hard bargaining and you finally find a number that you can both live with that you think is a good deal. And I think that this is a very good deal. The Syracuse University is our largest private employer. It's a huge driver of economic development for the city of Syracuse and for our community. But at the same time, it is a huge drain on our public services. Now, I say that saying that, you know, we want to make sure that if there's a fire in the house that you live in or in your dorms, we're going to send our fire department to report that. We clear the streets. We make sure that if there's, you know, if somebody breaks into your apartment, the police show up. Those are all very expensive public services that are traditionally paid with property taxes. And because Syracuse University is a nonprofit, they don't pay property taxes. So what this money will go for, there are two kind of pots of money, and I'm going to talk about what it will go for the city. It's going to go for services to help us make sure that we can continue to provide police, fire, Department of Public Works, code enforcement offices, engineering services, so that when the plans come up for the Carrier Dome, we have engineers that can look at those plans and make sure that they fit in with our infrastructure. The other pot of money is a pot of money that was started 11 years ago that really looks to help offset some of the impact that students have on some of the neighborhoods. And so a portion of that money is going to go towards a regular police patrol for the university neighborhood. Right. And then the rest of the money, neighbors are going to form a committee, and then they're going to decide how best to allocate the rest of the money to help improve and or offset some of the impacts that students have in the university area.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mayor Miner. It was our pleasure. Max and Cheyenne, back to you.
Thank you, Jacob, and thank you so much, Mayor Miner, for joining us. Time is running out for SU students to cast their vote in the Student Association elections.
Voting started yesterday on MySlice. One candidate has already dropped out of the race. Andrew Brendel released a statement ending his campaign and endorsing Charlie Mastaloni.
Offices up for grabs are president, vice president, comptroller, and a few assembly representatives. Of course, there are several things the candidates want to tackle, like issues of diversity and inclusion. However, many students hope the next administration can work with SU's leadership on lowering tuition.
Would have to be looking at scholarships and the way financials are handled, especially. So doing more to support those who are on scholarships. Tuition was just raised another 3 or 4%. That's hard for a lot of students.
The tuition right now is over $60,000, and that's a lot for any person to pay, regardless of how much financial aid they get. So definitely tuition, I think, is the main issue that I think the president needs to try to lower tuition for all students.
Students have until the end of the day tomorrow to vote on MySlice. And it's that time of year again when a group of students called First Year Players puts on a full-length musical in Goldstein Auditorium. This year, FYP is performing Heathers, the musical.
The actors in the show are all first-year students, and it's directed, choreographed, and produced by upperclassmen.
Here's an option that I like.
Here is video from yesterday's dress rehearsal. You can see the cast is almost ready for its first show tomorrow night.
It's an incredible show filled with incredibly talented people, and it handles some very important issues. Mean Girls with murder, then that would be pretty much how I would describe the show to anybody. It's hilarious, it's over the top.
And if you'd like to see the show, it runs tomorrow through Saturday night at 8 p.m. in Goldstein Auditorium. Tickets are on sale in the Shine box office for $4 with your SUID or $7 for general admission.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has won 8 of the last 9 presidential primary and caucus contests, but he still trails Hillary Clinton by a large margin of pledged delegates.
Sanders made his first stop in Syracuse yesterday, and our own Mike Carter was at the on-center for the rally. Mike?
That's right, Max. That's right, Max. I had a chance to go down to the on-center yesterday and check out the Senator Bernie Sanders, who's gone from relative obscurity to 2016's political rock star. And now he still trails Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton by 12 points here in New York. But with just 6 days remaining until New Yorkers go to the polls, the biggest hurdle for Bernie Sanders may just be running out of time.
Over 100 Bernie Sanders supporters came out to support the Vermont senator during a march in downtown Syracuse. For some supporters we spoke to, Sanders' appeal has more to do with social justice than with socialism.
It's the first, really the first candidate in my lifetime, and I'm, 33 years old, that I've felt like has had a really hard, serious commitment to social justice.
And while Sanders has owned the more liberal wing of the Democratic Party this election season, just last week, the New York Daily News skewered Sanders for his support of gun manufacturers following the tragedy at Newtown.
Most of the guns that are used in crimes and violence and killings in New York come from out of state. And the state that has the highest per capita number of those guns that end up committing crimes in New York come from Vermont.
So with Sanders trailing Clinton by 12 points in New York with a week to go before the primary, his campaign stopped in Syracuse on Tuesday, making one final push for some much-needed votes.
Next Tuesday, let us come out in large numbers.
With many SU students in the crowd, Sanders made sure to make his final pitch to his primary demographic.
And we have got to deal with the crisis of millions of people struggling with outrageous levels of student debt. Anybody here with student debt?
And while Sanders has never had an issue drawing large crowds at campaign stops, there is some concern among party insiders about whether many of his supporters will even be able to vote in Tuesday's primary.
Now keep in mind, New York is a closed primary, meaning if you did not register as a Democrat last October, you cannot vote in next Tuesday's election.
The Sanders camp has been consistent in its belief throughout the primary and caucus states that Sanders does best when voter turnout is high.
Let us have the highest voter turnout in Democratic primary history.
And one of the biggest hurdles for Bernie Sanders next Tuesday may just be that fact that New York is a closed primary, meaning if you are hoping to vote in the Democratic primary, if you did not register as a Democrat again last October, you will not be able to vote on Tuesday. And that can hurt Senator Sanders much more than Clinton's campaign, which kind of had the foresight, having already run a presidential election previous to this. One quick last poll to tell you guys about. An Emerson College poll tells us that Sanders has cut into Hillary Clinton's lead by over 30 points just in the last month. So keep in mind, 6 days left until New Yorkers go to the polls. Back to you guys.
When we come back, learn more about a company that helps create videos for startup companies. Our Monica Hammer sits down with 2 SU students who are the founders of Out There Productions.
Republican presidential candidate John Kasich paid a visit to Syracuse to generate support ahead of the New York primaries. We'll take you inside of his town hall meeting right here at Lemoyne College. Welcome back, everyone. A company started right here in Syracuse by 3 students that helps others expand and grow.
Monica Hammer will join us now as she sits down with 2 of the founders of Out There Productions.
Thanks, Max and Cheyenne. I'm here with Aaron Miller and Johnny Rosa, 2 of the 3 founders of Out There Productions. Out There Productions is a company that helps others create content to help put their name on the map. Thank you both for being here today. Now, Aaron, tell me a little bit about Out There Productions. What is your company?
Yeah, so Out There Productions is a video production company that creates explainer videos for people that have great ideas.
And Johnny, who are some of the people that you've had the opportunity to work with before?
We've helped everything from students here on campus to small businesses in Camillus, in Syracuse, and now we're getting into sort of larger businesses as we learn the tricks of the trade, really.
What have you learned to kind of work with these larger businesses now? What has helped you expand?
Yeah, so we started out working out with a lot of student companies, and when we got a little bit more traction, people are looking at our portfolio, so we're working with a lot of bigger businesses. And so I guess as a young startup company, we're learning more about like contracts and legal jargon and just signing NDAs and stuff like that. And it's really just growing as we go. So it's a learn as you go process, and it's really helping us get our name out there as long with everyone else's as well.
And you recently had a fundraising campaign that's going to help you post-graduation. Can you tell me a little bit about that campaign and what your next steps are?
Yeah, we raised over $9,500 on Indiegogo from supporters around the country. That money is now going to be used, first we bought a school bus, and now we're going to use the rest of it to renovate the bus into a living and working space that we can work out of around the country.
What's next for Out There Productions? What are you going to be doing post-graduation with this travel?
Yeah, so post-graduation, we sort of realized that the amount of revenue that we're generating was enough to sustain us post-graduation. So we're like, yo, let's all go full-time into Out There Productions. So after we graduate, we all have summer internships, and then after that, in September, we're going to launch the company full-time, hop on the bus, and travel across the country documenting and telling stories of people that have started their own businesses. So that's the plan. We're going to launch out of LA and then make our way across the country and see where we go from there.
And I know that you have a video blog that kind of keeps people informed. Speak a little bit to that and how you educate people about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So the vlog is fun because it gets people behind the scenes into what we actually do and how our business runs. I like it because it shows off sort of our personalities. Aaron's loud enough to be really fun on camera, so it's great, like as the person videotaping stuff, to have characters and people to interview. But it's great because we can sort of show people, my dream is to show students and really anyone that there's more than one path after graduation. You know, you can have an internship and get a job at some really cool place in New York City, or if you like to just drive around the country and live out of cars, you can do that as well.
Yeah, I think one of our biggest differentiating factors for Out There Productions is that our team is really, really fun, and we have like pretty solid like personalities, I'd say, and it's great to build an online community around that. And so we have people that are following our story as we tell the stories of others.
All right, great. Thank you both so much for being here today and sharing your story with us. And if you want to stay updated with what Out There Production is doing, you can visit their website online at www.otpro.co. Max and Cheyenne, back to you.
Well, the New York primary is just a week away, and all of the candidates have either stopped in Syracuse or will stop in Syracuse. Cheyenne, you had a chance to attend one of these events.
That's right, Max. Republican presidential candidate John Kasich actually held a town hall meeting at Lemoyne College, where he tried to appeal to upstate New York voters. Despite changing venues 3 times, there was standing room only at Republican presidential candidate John Kasich's town hall meeting in Syracuse. At this casual meeting, he rallied support among upstate New York voters.
I can run for president and get the economy going. I can pull the Republicans and Democrats back together. I can rebuild the defense. But the spirit of our country, here in this great town of Syracuse, doesn't rest in Washington. It's where we live.
Kasich also took swipes at both Democratic presidential candidates, questioning Bernie Sanders' ideas towards higher education.
You know, I talk to a lot of young people. They come out to these rallies, and I get so fired up by them. But if you ask them, okay, we're just going to have free college, how many of you believe that? Nobody believes it.
And Hillary Clinton's campaign strategy.
Hillary Clinton will go out and campaign about the Clinton economic recovery because it was significant. And I have to tell you, I'm going to call them like I see them. There is no way we would have had that done if the Republicans, for the first time in 40 years, had a majority, and we were committed to doing this, and because of it, we got it done. It's not their credit. The fact is we negotiated it with them, but we drove it.
Kasich spoke passionately about many hot-button issues, but was it enough to sway voters who may have been on the fence?
So he has a positive message to send to everybody, so definitely swayed me that way.
It's not the nonsense and the bickering and the bullying that I've seen recently. I'm encouraged. I think his discussion was open and honest.
As the crowd listened and watched intently, Kasich left them with an encouraging message.
That you and you and you matter. And when you know that, so many of the problems that we experience in life get put in perspective.
Cheyenne Devon, NCC News.
Springtime at the zoo, but colder temperatures, even some snow, have cut into business just a little bit.
But we'll tell you after the break why the zoo staff still has reason to celebrate.
Well, take a look at that. Beautiful day on campus. That's the Hall of Languages. Students are starting to get out and head to class. What a beautiful image right there.
And it's been a sunny morning today, but April has not gotten off to a great start.
Despite the cold temperatures, the Rosamond Gifford Zoo staff is still hoping you will come out and see the animals, including some new additions.
That's right, Max. Lions, tigers, bears, and snow in April. Oh my, but down at the zoo, they're celebrating some new life.
The weather outside is frightful.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
Down at the Rosamond Gifford Zoo, the animals are quite delightful. This spring may still be a little snowy, but the zoo staff has plenty to celebrate.
Spring always is a sign of new life here at the zoo, and we usually have penguin chicks that hatch. This season we've had 6 that have hatched between December and March.
These new chicks are Humboldt penguins. They will live here at Penguin Coast after zookeepers decide they are ready to live with other penguins and be fed by trainers instead of their parents. In the meantime, the zoo has launched a naming contest to give one of the newest male chicks a proper name. Luckily for the penguins, the cold weather here in Syracuse may seem familiar.
And even though today's weather and snowy conditions may make you want to bundle up and just head back inside, the zoo here is only closed 3 days out of the year. They say the cold weather is just part of running a zoo in Syracuse, New York.
We're open, rain, snow, sun, you name it. And actually the animals that are outside on our wildlife trails area are accustomed to this type of environment. They're used to this type of climate. They actually seem to be a little bit more active in the cold and the snowier weather as opposed to the summer when they're getting shade and resting.
And to fight the cold weather, the zoo is starting its spring break activities this month to drive up attendance. Visitors will be able to chat with zookeepers about the animals, meet some of the birds, and get a behind-the-scenes look at the zoo starting near the end of April. And a few months after that, visitors will be able to see the new penguin chicks when they visit the zoo. That is, of course, after zoo fans get a chance to name them. Our suggestion? How about Jack Frost?
Let it snow, let it snow.
Now they named that little guy Otto, and now we'll give it over to Hunter for a look at your weekend.
Well, Hunter will be telling us what's going on with your weekends on the Hill.
And there's quite a lot going on this weekend, isn't there? At least we know that there's going to be some nice weather.
There'll be nice weather and a lot to do. Hunter, tell us what's going on.
Hey, good morning, guys. Coming up this weekend on Saturday, the SU women's lacrosse team will take on North Carolina in the Carrier Dome at noon. Our ladies are currently ranked fourth in the nation behind the Tar Heels. That game will be followed by men's lacrosse, also taking on North Carolina. The men are sitting at number 9 in the nation. SU softball will also have a home game on Saturday. They have a doubleheader against NC State up at the Skytop softball fields on South Campus. First pitch is scheduled for 1 o'clock. Also, Orange Seeds has a big event with their annual big event in which SU students will do some community service projects. Cheyenne and Max, back to you.
Luke Bryan brought his signature Southern swagger to the Dome this weekend.
Record crowds flocked to campus for the Syracuse leg of his Kill the Lights tour.
She was like, oh my God, this is my song. We've been listening to the radio.
The country superstar had the audience on their feet, dancing along to his biggest hits like Rain is a Good Thing and Play It Again. His 2-hour set felt like one big honky-tonk of a party.
On top of showing off his dance moves, his incredible vocal range was on display. Bryan took a few moments to play a heartfelt tribute to country legend Merle Haggard, who passed away early last week.
Now, Hunter, I know you were at the concert. How was it?
I was. Jake and I both. It was great. Great opening. Little Big Town and Dustin Lynch, they put on a really good show.
It was incredible.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for you tonight. This morning, I'm Max Darrow.
And I'm Cheyenne Devine. Thank you so much for starting your morning with us. Have a great day.